The storm hit fast. One minute, I was making my way down the Avalanche Mountains, my cabin a mere 20 minutes away. The next, the wind roared to life, sending ice and snow whipping through the air like shards of glass. My flashlight barely cut through the chaos, and my snowshoes sank deeper with every step. But I wasn't alone. I don't mean the wildlife. I hadn't seen so much as a fox in hours. I meant them, the hollow ones. I don't know what else to call them. I don't even know if they're real. But I've heard the stories, how people disappear in these mountains, how search parties find their tracks ending in the middle of untouched snow, like they were plucked right off the ground. I used to think it was the cold, the exhaustion, the madness of isolation, but then I saw them. Shadows, tall, stretched wrong. They stood at the edge of my vision, just beyond the reach of my flashlight, not moving, just watching. I told myself it was the trees, the wind, my nerves, but when I took a step forward, so did they. I picked up my pace. My breath turned shallow, chest tight with fear. The air grew heavy, like the weight of the mountain itself was pressing down on me. Then the worst sound imaginable, a deep, echoing crack. I barely had time to register it before the world collapsed around me. Avalanche. The word drowned out my screams as the ground beneath me vanished. Snow slammed into me, flipping my body, tumbling me downwards, burying me under tons of ice. Darkness. Silence. I was pinned, my arms locked to my sides, my legs trapped. The cold bit into my skin, squeezing the air from my lungs. I tried to move. Nothing. I tried to breathe. Barely. Panic surged through me. If I didn't get out now, I never would. Then I heard them. Soft footsteps pressing down on the snow above me. Slow, deliberate, and then whispers. Not words, not really, just sounds, twisting through the ice, seeping into my ears. They were here. Something moved in the dark. A long hand, skeletal, pale as the snow, punching through the ice inches from my face. I wanted to scream, but the cold stole my voice. The hand reached, fingers flexing, grasping blindly through the darkness, not searching for me, pulling me free. Suddenly I was moving. The ice shifted, the pressure lifting from my chest. I was being dragged upwards towards the surface. Then, air. I gasped, coughed up snow, my entire body trembling. My flashlight was gone, my gear buried, but I was alive. I rolled onto my back, staring up at the swirling snow. My vision blurred, my mind screaming that none of this made sense. Then, through the storm, I saw them, lined up along the ridge above me, tall, hollow, their bodies blending into the night, their faces nothing but shadow. They had saved me. Or maybe they had cleaned me. I don't know why they let me go. I don't know if they ever will again. But as I stumbled back to my cabin, I could still hear them whispering in the wind. I should have left earlier. That was the thought hammering in my skull as I treaded through knee-deep snow. The beam of my flashlight barely piercing the snow. The wind screeched through the Avalanche Mountains, carrying flurries of ice like tiny knives against my face. My cabin wasn't far, maybe 30 minutes if I kept moving. But the darkness felt heavier tonight. trees pressed it closer. The silence between gusts of wind felt wrong. Then I heard it. A whisper. My name. I stopped dead in my tracks, breath caught in my throat. The wind? Maybe. The mountains had their tricks. Echoes bouncing between the cliffs. Strange sounds carried through the canyon. But this wasn't that. It was too close, too precise. I swung my flashlight around. Just snow, just trees, just shadows. I forced my legs to move, pushing forward. Just my mind playing tricks on me, I guess. Then I turned around and saw it. A figure, tall, thin, standing between the trees. Its head tilted in an unnatural way, like it was studying me. My breath caught in my throat. My flashlight flickered. I blinked, and it was gone. Panic surged through me. I walked faster. The snow felt heavier now, like it was trying to pull me down with each step. My legs burned. My lungs ached. I just had to reach my cabin. I just had to. A low, deep crack split the air. Then the world moves. A roar filled my ears as the mountain let loose all its fury. Snow crashed down from above, a massive wall swallowing everything in its path. I turned to run, but I was too late. The force hit me like a truck, slamming me into the darkness. I was buried. The weight was suffocating. No up, no down, just ice pressing into my chest. My throat, stealing my breath. My arms barely moved as I clawed with desperation. I was blind. Then, hands, not mine. They grabbed me, bony fingers latching onto my arms, pulling me downward. No warmth, no life, just ice cold touch, dragging me into the mountain's depth. A voice, low and whispering, hissed in my ear, "You should not be here." And suddenly I was moving, not down but up. My body lurched as I yanked through the snow, like something unseen had decided to let me go. I gasped as my head broke the surface, cold air burning my lungs. Coughing, shaking, I pulled myself free, stumbling onto solid grounds. The avalanche was gone. The forest was silent. The figure, nowhere to be seen. I stood there for a long time, snow clinging to my skin, breath fogging in the icy air. I should have died down there. I would have died down there. Something has saved me, but I don't think it was out of kindness. I never should have gone up that mountain alone. I was stubborn, and the storm didn't seem that bad when I left the cabin that morning. I just needed to check my traps, grab a few supplies, and be back before nightfall. Then the blizzard hit, came down fast, thick sheets of snow, wind howling through the trees, visibility dropping to nearly nothing. I turned back, but the trail had already vanished beneath fresh snowfall. My compass was useless, my GPS was dead. And then, the mountain itself had turned against me. I heard the sound. A deep, earth-shaking crack. I barely had time to process what was happening before the slope gave away beneath me. The avalanche swallowed me whole. I tumbled, weightless, lost in a violent swirl of snow and ice. My body slammed into something hard. Then nothing, just darkness. Buried. At first I thought I was dead. I couldn't move. The cold pressed in from every angle. The silence absolute. My chest was tight, my breath coming in shallow gasps. I needed to dig my way out, but which way was up? I reached for the lighter in my pocket with trembling fingers, flicked it once. The flame shot straight down. I was upside down. I twisted, struggling to turn my body, my limbs sluggish from the cold. As I shifted, the ice beneath me gave a strange, hollow groan. And then it moved, not the ice, something inside it. I froze. A shape pressed against the ice beneath me, faint, a silhouette, a handprint. I stared in horror as the hand twitched, then dragged downwards into the darkness below. Something was beneath the snow. A deep, rhythmic sound filled this frozen space around me, a slow, deliberate knocking. It echoed through the ice like something ancient, something that had been waiting. I wasn't alone down here. I had to move. Now. I started digging furiously, scooping snow with my numb fingers, kicking at the ice above me. The knocking grew louder. The surface cracked beneath me, spiderweb fractures racing outwards. Then I saw it. A shape staring up at me from inside the snow. Not a person, not an animal, something else. It was facing stretched and wrong, mouth frozen open in a silent scream. Its eyes locked onto mine. The ice shattered. I lunged upward with every ounce of strength I had left, clawing my way through the collapsing snow. My hands broke through to open air, and I dragged myself out, gasping, shaking, alive. The storm had passed. The mountain was silent again. I turned back towards the hole I had escaped from, only to find solid snow. No cracks, no break, like it had never happened. But I knew what I saw. And when the wind picked up again, carrying a faint, rhythmic knocking from deep below the ice, I ran. I've spent years in these mountains. I know their dangers, the storms, the cold, the avalanches, but nothing prepared me for what I saw that night. It started with a feeling, that creeping, unsettling sense that I wasn't alone. I had been hiking back to my cabin when the wind picked up, howling through the trees like something alive. The sky was a deep, heavy black, the moon barely a sliver behind thick clouds. My flashlight cut through the dark, but every time I turned, the shadows seemed to shift as if something had just moved out of sight. Then I saw it. A figure standing on the ridge above me. It was barely more than a silhouette against the stormy sky, tall, thin, motionless. At first, I thought it was a tree, but then it moved. Not like a person, not like an animal. Something was wrong. I quickened my pace, my boots crunching through the thick snow. My cabin was close. Just another 10 minutes, maybe less. I didn't dare look back, but I could feel it watching me. Then the mountains groaned, a deep, echoing crack ripping through the silence. The ground trembled beneath me. I ran. Behind me, a thunderous roar exploring down the mountainside. Snow crashed through the trees, swallowing everything in its path. I pushed forward, lungs burning, like screaming in protest. My cabin, so close now, just beyond the next ridge. Then out of the corner of my eyes, I saw the figure again, standing just ahead of me, waiting. I had no choice. I ran straight towards it, but as my flashlight hit it, it vanished. No time to think. The avalanche was almost on me. I lunged forward, throwing myself into the trees just as the snow thundered past. It swept down in a wave, roaring like a beast, shaking the ground with its fury. Then, silence. I was still alive, shaking. I turned back to the figure had been. Nothing. Just untouched snow, no footprints, no signs that anything had been there. I made it to my cabin, locking the door behind me. I didn't sleep that night, not because of the avalanche, but because, through the frost covered windows, I saw a shadow standing just beyond the tree line, watching, waiting, and I know one day it won't let me go. The mountains warned me, so I didn't listen. The snow had started falling heavier by midday, thick enough to turn the world into a white void. I should have turned back, but my cabin wasn't far, just a few more ridges, so I kept walking. Then the wind changed. It wasn't just the cold that made my skin crawl. It was the silence between the gusts, the way the trees stopped swaying, like the whole mountain was holding its breath. And then I felt it. Something was watching me. I turned, flashlight shaking in my grip. Nothing. Just the trees, just the snow. But I knew I wasn't alone. I woke to the sound of something scraping against my cabin walls. Not the wind, not an animal. Something slow, deliberate. I grabbed my rifle and stepped to the door, heart hammering. Silence. Then, a deep, distinct crack. The ground trembled, the mountains groaned, and then it came. The avalanche roared down the slopes, a tidal wave of white fury. I barely had time to move before the snow slammed into my cabin, shattering the windows, burying everything. Darkness swallowed me whole. I was trapped. I dug for hours. My arms ached. My breath came in raged gasps. The cold whispered at me promises of sleep. Then through the darkness, I saw them. Eyes. Blue, glowing, too large to be human, staring at me through the ice. I stopped breathing. The thing behind this ice tilted its head. Its mouth moved, but no sound came. Just a crunch of shifting snow, the slow stretch of something pressing closer. It wanted me. I don't remember how I got out. One moment I was staring into those frozen, alien eyes. The next, I was clawing my way to the surface, gasping in the freezing air. The avalanche had passed. The cabin was gone. And so were they. I should leave. But when I stand at the edge of the ridge, staring down at where my cabin used to be, I feel them watching. They let me go. This time.